Okay, thanks.
Okay, and actually, I could also share this with other people who are a little bit confused on how to start and and it's like it's also the same thing on also not only how to do a concept map, how to do notes, and how to start a paper.
Right.
And like it's daunting because you're like, well, where do I begin? There's so many things I could choose. But when you look at here, design and submit a concept map of what you learned, right? And goes, and it should have concept and connections between the four things. Now, if you go through my video and the lecture, right? You have basic so I could take this. Let's take this. This is one way to do it. I could take what I want. I goes my goal, right? And then I get into Microsoft Word. And also, you don't have to do Microsoft Word, but many of the professors, your future professors, like it because it's clean and neat. But if you're clean and for my classes, if you just do paper and pencil and then just scan it or take a picture of it and send it to me and it's coherent, I'm okay with it. But most people have trouble like how do I connect these things? Now, typically all of these things are connected, and there we had one whole lecture on how they were all connected. So the first thing we have to start with, and I usually give myself a little bit space here. So basic chemical structures of the organisms, right? So we talked about first you have to start somewhere. So let's start with the basic structures of the organisms. Now, okay, where do I get that information? Well, it goes, I could watch one of these videos, and that had all these videos deal with bonding, but we talked about basic chemical structure right here in one of the one of the notes, right? So if we look at if I look at the notes, right? Does this answer anything about basic chemical structure? No. So can I skip that part? Sure. Right. But does pH have anything to do with basic chemical structure? Nah, not yet. Right. But it is important, right? It was in lecture. But what has basic chemical structure? Oh, looky here. If I go further down, the four groups of biological macromolecules, or the basic four structures, are carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, and nucleic acids. So now I'm going back to this, right? So my basic chemical structures, you click on insert, and this is in Microsoft Word, by the way. And then you click on shapes, and then I pick a circle. And my first topic, right, is basic, like the overall basic chemical structure. So I write the word basic chemical structure. And macromolecules is connected to this because it's part of the basic chemical structure, right? So can I put insert an arrow? Sure. I put an arrow, and then I put another circle, and then another shape, and then I could talk about the macromolecules. You put that here, maybe make this a little bit bigger so I can fit the word macromolecules, and inside there, write the word macromolecules. And what were the four macromolecules? I can then do what? Now you can see how this is like faster if you just did on a piece of paper with a ruler or whatnot, but it looks neater this way.
Right. But you can always do it I can do it on a paper.
Yeah, do it on a piece of paper, but make sure it's neat. And then you could put the what? The four. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Right.
Right. So you gotta you start with oopsies, picked the wrong thing. You start with what do you call that? The end in mind. And what was the end? This was our goal. So it starts here. It actually leads you like what are the basic chemical structures in organisms? So basic chemical structure, and one of those things are macromolecules. And then there were 4 examples of macromolecules. And then you could do, you know, carbohydrates, and then an arrow. What is carbohydrates made out of? Proteins, DNA, and you know, the 4 things, right? Let me insert another shape. And then that will lead to 4 other bubbles. Now, isn't the basic structure also about bonding, right? Then of course. Now, to get to your question regarding bonding, let's look at bonding. So I could do this. I could draw another arrow because the main topic is the basic chemical structure. All right. And then another circle, and that circle would be bonding. Okay, now that goes into like, oh, I want to know the little things about bonding and what are the most important things about bonding, right? So I could either go to my lecture, replay the lecture, or let's go back here. I have a video here, right? The different types of chemical bonds, and this is kind of the same thing, but this is another thing you could do. You could take scrap paper or the same piece of paper on the bottom part of it. Now, I'm going to play the video, right? And then I'm going to pretend to be the student, and you'll see what I talk about in lecture, active listening. Like, you're not listening to everything. You're listening to keywords that will signal what is important. So what do I need to know? I need to know about bonds, right? And the different types of chemical bonds. So let's play the video.
Humans, like chemicals, are really all about bonds. Think about all the relationships in your life. You're a casual acquaintance to some people, a colleague or friend to others, and maybe more to that someone special. Maybe you're dating someone casually, or you're in a committed relationship, or you're married. There are all kinds of different combinations of people out there. And sometimes, you know, people fall for a vampire or a werewolf. Who am I to judge? Fact is, each type of relationship requires different things from you and the other person. But if you play your cards right, these relationships allow you to relax and escape the stresses that come with the constant search for affection. Distance is important in relationships too. Of course, too much distance makes it hard to stay focused on each other and requires a lot of effort to keep things together. And I may not have to tell you, too little distance can be a problem as well. Everyone needs their space, and when you don't have any, you just end up pushing away from whatever's crowding you. In this way, atoms are a lot like us. We call their relationships bonds, just like we do with our own relationships. And there are many different types. Each kind of atomic relationship requires a different type of energy, but they all do best when they settle into the lowest stress situation.
All right, now, the best way to deal with these videos is because they're boring, and you could just fall asleep if you don't, you take them in little bitty doses. So what I know about bonding now, it's relationships, right? Between two atoms. So that's one idea. And then he started talking about then there are different types. And then I'm going to put another arrow. Okay. Here. And then and he said the types were based on energy. So can I put like I could put a circle here. Now, do you see what we're doing? We're just keep on adding on stuff. And,
Yes.
and the types were based on energy. And then we add the 4 or 5 types of bonds that he's talking about. But you could see here how this will be one set of notes, right? But they're notes, but they're done in a, you know, like a visual pattern. Now, when you look at this, right? If you look at just basic letters on a page, when you close your eyes, can you see the words? If you can, you have something called an eidetic memory. You should be in medical school, right? But most people can't see the words. But if you right now close your eyes real quick, can you kind of see the circles and the arrows? You already know the center circle's basic chemical structure. To the right is macromolecules, and then in my mind's eye there are 4 of them, right? So then you're gonna list down the 4 of them. And then on the left, it's bonding. What is bonding? And then there's a circle there that says relationship. And then the types with the word energy in parentheses. I didn't just memorize that. I did what? I just looked at it. And you know when they say things like a picture is worth 1,000 words, it's true. And this is the skill set that we're trying to build in the students, because and as a future nurse, many things that you'll be memorizing are protocols, are ways to do things. Like if your patient has this blood pressure, you got to go do these things. If the patient has this kind of pressure, you got to go do these things. And that's the basis of all the clinical protocols. And all the clinical protocols have to be done the same exact way for every single patient. So when you start making notes like this, right, it does something called, in education, it's called chunking. So you're not memorizing like for example this, you're not memorizing 4, 5, 6, 7 different things. I'm memorizing what? One big picture, and then you could see how it all relates together. So you could try it out, just like you have like you get a little stencil, or maybe like a coin or something like that to make the circles, and then a straight edge or a ruler, and you will be doing things like this all the way up to graduate school. I'm already currently doing my MBA. I have to do this all the time because there are certain processes are very complex, and if you don't see them visually, it gets really crazy. So let's look at what a concept map kind of looks like. So let's when you're done, let's pick one in healthcare so we can see something. So when we're looking at this, something like this, do you see how, just like what we just created, you could see how you have the main topic and then what? 2 subtopics and all these other subtopics. And this is what a concept map kind of looks like in the end. And just like what our original assignment was, let's go back to this thing. The original assignment is how are we going to link basic chemical structures, right, with macromolecules, with bonding, and then with water. Because remember, one of the types of bonds is hydrogen bonds. So I could put another arrow here, right? And then put another circle here. And this would be hydrogen bonds, right? And then another arrow here. And then what was so special about hydrogen bonds? I mean, what's so special about hydrogen bonds? They deal with water. And then you can place all the stuff that you learned about water here. So you could do this. Hydrogen bonds is one of the types of bonds. And now you don't have to memorize that they deal with water, H2O. Right? And then you could talk about all the stuff that deals with water. So do you see how, like when you look at it, like it builds itself, right? So I will send you this. So this will be like your basic, and you could either move it around or just expand to it. And it doesn't have to be super complex as you saw from the example. But you could see how now you can relate all of these things together.
Right.
All right.
So basically when I'm building on, I need to basically have everything, all the information in this concept map.
Yeah, what I like doing is if I know I have to do a concept map, and 9 times out of 10 you most likely will have to do a concept map, I look at what topics, and then when so I know in the back of my head like what I need to do, so that when I listen to the lecture and when I watch the videos, I could start drawing my map as the video is playing, which is what I did when when the video is playing. I pick and choose the things that related to bonding, and then it was the definition, relationship, and then you start talking about the types. Then I'll pause it, and then I'll start putting arrows on the types. So it's just like, did you take your T's yet? Your T's exam
No,
or SATs or reading comprehension?
no.
It's the same thing. Like, you know, when you do a reading comprehension exam,
Uh-huh.
most people just read the paragraph and then answer the questions. That's a pain because how do you know what you're looking for? You know? So one of the strategies in taking your T's or SATs or ACTs, you read the questions first, right? Let's say, for example, paragraph one has 4 questions associated with it. One of the strategies is you read the questions first, just like this. You read or write down, what is your goal? Here's my goal. I needed to hit these 4 topics, right? So it goes, I get these 4 topics down, then I watch the videos, then I do the lecture, and then what do? As you build information, you just keep on adding to it. And then you'll see all the arrows and all the circles will grow. And then you could make the different circles different colors, arrows different meanings, like me, I always draw an arrow with an X if it means that if this particular thing will block this, or if this particular thing will enhance this, I usually write like a plus, right? Like you can make up all of these little notations. And again, you could see the advantage of it. You could see your notes so that when you're in moments of stress, like an exam, or you're trying to remember a concept, all you have to do is close your eyes. And if you did this, if you did this as you were studying, it builds connections, and that's called chunking. And that's a great way to build your memory, because try memorizing a song or a poem. It's really hard because it's words. But but it's easy to remember a picture, isn't it? You just look at it and then you close your eyes, and then you actually see a lot of detail. All right. So to recap, what do? You first find your goal. What did you want to look up? What were the main topics? And I look here in my task, these were the main topics. And then from there, I start off with the first one. I make a circle, and then I ask myself, what's the important parts of the first one, and how does that connect to the second one? And then wash, rinse, and repeat, right? I do macromolecules, and then I see how it connects to this stuff, right? And then I go to the next one, right? Bonding. Okay, bonding relates to basic chemical structure, so that relates over here. And then the next one was water. When it goes in my lecture, when did we start talking about water? We started talking about water when we started talking about the type of H bond, which was a relatively weak bond that gives the water its capability of being soluble. And then you could put words like solubility. Remember, we talked about on the lecture, we talked about Kool-Aid. So part of water is mixtures. So what kinds of mixtures? And you could add that to the notes. So you could see how this is like, it forms like a scaffolding. It forms like a basis of your knowledge. And then you could add as many of these arrows as you want to expand your knowledge. And you could get quite specific. As you could see from the previous examples, I chose a simple example. But if you look at these other examples of concept maps, it can get quite complex, as you can see here, especially chemistry. Look at this craziness, right? But it's easier. I'm telling you, it's easier if you're the one who built it. And if you're the one who built something, don't you remember it better than someone who didn't? I could give you my notes. I could give you the videos. I could give you everything that I have. But if you don't build it yourself, then it won't stick. It won't stay in there. So does that answer your question? And I can send you this so you can take this and expand upon it, or
Okay.
or draw it yourself, or
Okay. So
do your own design.
Right. Okay. So, so basically, I'm just getting everything that's connected to the four things that's
Yeah.
listed.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
of course there'll be other offshoots because there's other things about basic chemical structure, right? We talked about enzymes, that's another offshoot, right? Then we also started talking about enzymes and enzyme specificity, and we also started talking about pH, right? So don't you think I'm going to need, right? I'm going to need another set of arrows here, right? I started talking about what do you call that? Enzymes, right? And then I don't want to go too far because then it's going to get to the point where I'm already doing this for you. But you can see how you can expand it, right? Because
Right.
remember when we talked about basic chemical structure and we hit up those notes, we talked about for a little while pH. And then in the circle in pH, you could talk about what's basic and what does neutral mean and what does acidic mean. And you could give,
Okay. I see. I see. I see. I'm getting it.
and you see how you build it.
Right. Right.
So it's like, yeah, you're doing this, and it goes, it's not busy work. It's a way, it's a different way of thinking, and it's a different way, and it also maps out organization
Right.
visually so that you can communicate it to somebody else, right? Because you know, like you could give me your notes and they make total sense to you, but they'll make no sense to me, right? But and that's also the reason why you ever like you listen to the lecture right on a Wednesday, right? Everything's all cool. Then you try to look at it Wednesday night, you're like, what the hell? Makes no sense. Because it makes no sense because it's not you. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not the one who put it all together. So you're taking my notes, you're taking my lecture, you're taking the videos, and you're taking your understanding, and you're doing what? Building on how you are to remember these concepts. And this is a better way of studying. This is a better way of taking notes. Because not everybody has really fast hands. Not everyone types 102 words a minute. But when I make notes for complex things, I do it this way. It's not really in words. It's in arrows and drawings, right? And also for future reference, does it have to be words? Do you think you can, like, you have access to the internet? Do you think you can just draw pictures? Yeah, and that will make you remember things. I used to be a chemist. I close my eyes when someone says a chemical to me. I close my eyes. I could see it because one day when I was learning, what did I do? I actually sat on the board and I drew it out 3, 4, 5 times, and that's how I memorized it. Because we learn better if we do it ourselves. You know what I'm saying? If we like actually write everything out and do it ourselves. So do you get how we started it, how we build it, and how we
Yeah.
expanded it?
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's the same thing with papers, and it's the same thing with discussions. A lot what I get from some students are like, how do I stretch this to 200 words? And I'm like, you don't have to. Just keep on asking questions, and it'll bring you to the next circle, which will bring you to the next circle. Any one of these discussions, you could write a book on, but I'm only asking for 200 to 400 words. But you could see how one thing leads to another, leads to another, leads to another, right? So let's give an example. Let's say you're doing your discussion for next week, right? Your discussion 2. So I'm looking at discussion 2, right? And based on the completion of the case study, complete the application question on Alzheimer's disease. And I believe I put the PowerPoint in the, yeah, here it is. I put the PowerPoint in there, and then when you look at the PowerPoint, you go to the very end, and then there's a discussion piece on Alzheimer's. You go to the very, very end. Or, yeah, like what I said about pictures, like this. In my head, this is how I remember covalent bonds. I will always know that covalent bonds share because you see these 2 hydrogen bonds are sharing. And don't you think that's better than trying to remember covalent sharing, covalent sharing? No, I see it. I see it in my mind's eye. Oh, polar covalent. Are they sharing equally? No, one's bigger than the other. And you see partial negative, partial positive, right? So I know that's a polar covalent. So you could do the same thing. And I know what water looks like. H2, and there's two of them. O, and the H, the partial positive, gets attracted to the partial negative, and that's what? Hydrogen bond. So you could I utilize pictures, and then you could have questions like this: which one's the nonpolar covalent? It's easy, right? It goes which one shares, but doesn't. It goes but shares evenly.
Is B.
No, B.
Oh,
One's bigger than the other, right?
is
So these guys,
non-polar.
yeah, non-polar means what? They're non means no pole, no north pole nor south pole. They're sharing what? Equally. So which one out of these four is equal?
C.
C. Which one out of these four is hydrogen bonds?
A.
Yeah, because it's what? Water. Which one of these are polar covalent?
B.
Or uneven? B, right? Which one of these things is ionic?
D.
D, as in dog.
Now, why is D
And it's
ionic?
ionic because it goes, if you remember, right, and I'll put even a key here. I'll put in a little plus, and a fluoride would be a little minus. And anything that has an extra charge, either plus or minus, means what? They're ionic bonds. But this I see because I know for a fact that lithium, I just know because I'm a chemist, I just know. Lithium, it's missing an electron. So if it's missing an electron, it'll be positive. And fluoride has an extra electron here, so it's what?
Is negative. Okay.
Right?
And when they
But you
come
can see that.
together,
Can you see that how fluoride has an extra
right?
one here, and lithium looks like it's full, right? Or it
Right.
looks like it's missing something, right? But no, but that's to a chemist side. But typically I'll put on an exam lithium 2+, fluoride 1-, right? And then you'll be like, oh, that's ionic. Now, doesn't this now tell you the 4 types of bonds in a
Yeah.
picture? And then how is that? Can you now see that easier now? And
Yeah.
now the question regarding the types of bonds won't be hard for you come exam time. Because the second you see water, you're going to go, oh, hydrogen. The second you see even sharing, oh, nonpolar covalent. The second you see one big thing versus one little thing, oh, that's polar covalent. And the second you see 2 ions, oh, that's ionic. Easy
Okay.
peasy. And then you're like, yeah, it goes easy exam. But you could see how it goes, once you understand it and you see it visually, you not only can see it, you can now tell somebody else about it. So for example, let's because we're doing Alzheimer's, degenerative disease, using your textbook searches, research topic exam, right? So this is our case study, right? I could take it, and just like what we did before, right? This is our goal, isn't it? I can copy it, and let me bring it.
Yeah, I've done that. I copied and pasted, and I actually with the worksheet, I actually took and copied and pasted the questions, and
Yeah, and then you just answer it, right?
I had to draw the pictures. Because I wanted visualization in there. I think about 2 of the slides, I think I copied and pasted, but the other pictures I drew them because it was just one. It wasn't like the A, B, C with the different pictures.
Or, I like me, I don't, I'm an okay artist, but I don't have the time to draw stuff. Do you think you can copy and paste stuff like pictures that you've seen on the internet, and that'll help you? Yeah. You could.
Yeah, but it was taking I think me trying to look for pictures, it was taking too much time. So I just drew circles.
Mhm.
I actually copied and paste the circles.
Okay.
And then just, did it that way.
Yeah, it goes, and you could do it that way. Now, regarding this discussion, you could see how you could do it the same thing. You start with the end in mind. So I know that my discussion has to have some sort of introduction, right? Some sort of body or middle, and that'll be my evidence. And then what do I do in the end? I put it all together in some sort of conclusion. What did I learn? Right? So right off the bat, I'm like, it goes, what is Alzheimer's? I don't know what it is. All I know is people get messed up by it. And what is dementia? I don't know, right? And there's no cure. It causes the disease. It goes. There's no. And also now the speculation means that it's not. We're not quite sure what it if this actually causes it, but it's a pretty good idea. So what are these proteins? What are these beta amyloids? Cause beta amyloid plaque. Now these plaques are what? So I have to ask about the chemistry of that, because isn't this chapter that we're talking about is about chemistry? And plaques are just like these fibers that get all clumped up, and it ruins the electricity and the chemistry of your brain. So you can find some evidence, right? Put it all together, what you believe. Maybe you believe this is not real. Oh, these beta amyloid plaques are found in other things like mental retardation and also traumatic brain injury. So I don't believe that it definitively causes Alzheimer's. If you find evidence to that, you put it here. Or if you found a study that says, oh, in 93 patients, according to the National Institute of Health, 78 of them had plaques in their brain when they were autopsied, and they had a significant amount of dementia or memory loss, progressive dementia or progressive memory loss. You could see how it's the same thing. You're taking something from the end, your goal, and you're just adding on to it and building. Alrighty? So that's the discussion, and this is, and again, feel free to use this, and I could email this to you today.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
you.
I got one more question.
Shoot.
So for my my oral communications class,
Okay.
we have to typically we do a speech, but we have to have an outline. Now that outline, the APA formatted outline.
Uh-huh.
And so how do you do that?
So,
'Cause I was looking it up.
so what's your speech on?
So, well, this week was okay. So last week my speech was on myself, about me, like like my
Yeah. Did you already
birthday.
submit that in,
I did, and she told me that I can do it over, which I want to do it over.
Okay. So what
Because
comments did she make about your speech and
well, she didn't. She told me that she enjoyed the presentation, but for some reason my audio, she was having issues with it, so
okay.
I'll have to do that
So
again.
it was a technical thing.
Right, but I know my outline, like I think it was okay for that, but now with this week, the discussion, is it the discuss not the discussion, the task
Okay.
is about reading. So I can either read to one of my children a story, or I could tell a story. It's basically storytelling. And it says to make an outline, and I'm just like,
And is it specifically to a child?
no, it
Oh,
could
it's
be
just
to
okay. So it's
any type of
storytelling.
audience, right? But it's just a storytelling. It has to be between 5 to 7 minutes in length. And that's just the
Okay. Now, did you see how we did the discussion?
audio.
Right? Did we see how we did the discussion?
Uh-huh.
We did it because we broke it down on because who's a really awesome storyteller? Charlie Murphy, right? Freaking one of the, and I had the great fortune of meeting the man. And he is as funny as he was on the Chappelle Show as he was in real life. I used to be a production assistant in college, and I got to work on commercials and things like that. I was the person, like, I get the talent, their food, or if they need their clothes pressed, or like a Boy Friday, like anything that the talent needed. I would go get it. And I worked on a movie, an independent movie in New York City, and Charlie Murphy was was one of the actors in it. And one day on the set, he started doing what he does. And if you saw from the Dave Chappelle show, he tells the story. And just like there's always an introduction where they hook you in, right? Then the body of the story when you're already in. And did you ever hear Charlie Murphy, or you watch the Dave Chappelle show where Charlie Murphy talks about how when he and his brother first met Prince,
I
they had
think I
and
have. It's been a
they played
while.
basketball. My goodness,
Yeah.
right? But the point of my mentioning this example is he had an introduction, right? He slowly started, bringing you in, right, on what's the main story. Then there's a body, and then he wrapped it all up. And long story short, they played basketball with Prince. They underestimated Prince and the Power Generation because they kind of looked fruity in their outfits. If you remember their outfits from the 80s and 90s, it wasn't the most masculine outfit. And that they beat them in basketball, right? And the conclusion was, if you go to Prince's house, you should bring your A game if ever he asks you to play basketball, right? So you could see how there was an introduction, then it suckered you into the body, and of course the body will have the main part of the story, and then last but not least, your conclusion. So it goes, what story are you planning to tell?
So basically, I was gonna read a story to my daughter.
Which
So
story are you going to read?
hold on, give me 1 second. How do I exit out of this? Oh, here we go. Okay. So the name of the story, it is called, when I get to the,
Well, we'll just put it in blank, right? So it's a children's story, right?
it's called, wait a minute, it's called The Bees Down in the Garden by DC Swain with Anna
So story
Bonor.
title: The Bees Down the Garden.
In the Garden,
You're going to
yes.
modify this,
Right.
and then and then of course Rye. Now, and he goes, who will you be reading to? Who are your audience?
My daughter.
And your daughter is how old? How old is your daughter?
5.
Okay. And then do you see what I'm doing? I'm just filling in the rationale. Why did you choose this story?
Okay.
Right? Like like a reporter, who, what, why, where, and
Right.
and then that'll be a story. And then the body, you could just do what? Summarize the story, right? And then your conclusion, or even can be a prediction on like a prognosis on how your daughter will perceive this story. And of course, what's the conclusion? Every children's story has a lesson. What was the lesson learned? Now, do you see the thing that I just did? Now, when you look at it, it's not that hard anymore, is it?
Right.
Because now you have a structure. Now you have like a scaffolding to build things. Now everything has to have a distinct beginning, middle, and end. So now all you have to do is just like you did with the what do you call that? Just like you did with the concept map, you can expand, right? The audience, daughter, age 5, and then could you expand it more? Like, is it appropriate for anybody older? Is it appropriate for anybody younger? Why did you choose this story? Does it have some sort of meaning to you? Did someone read it to you, or maybe you like the graphic, right? Me as a parent, I always, you know how they say you never judge a book by its cover? I
Right.
constantly judge books by its cover. When I buy it for my kids, I look at it and I'm like, oh, that looks appropriate. I'm not going to sit there and really read the book, right? So I could talk about how and why did I choose this story. And then, of course, the body's easy. Just summarize the story and then your conclusion. You could state that, oh, I believe my daughter would love this story, and other little girls like it because the lesson that was learned is, bees are required and we shouldn't kill them, and they might ruin the ecosystem. I don't know. But you could see how now you have 7 minutes, right? Time yourself on how long does it take to tell the story, right? And let's say it takes 5 minutes. So then you now know you have to have at least a 1 minute introduction and a 1 minute conclusion, right? Rehearse it, okay? And then you have it down to 7 minutes exactly, right?
Right.
So, and it shows your professor planning. And it's also the same thing because when you present as a future nurse, they're going to go, okay, case number 25A, Ms. Bass, your patient, please. You run over 3 minutes. They'll go, no, shut up. Oh, did you prepare? And then you're standing there like, what the fudge? Like, or if you go too short, that's it. Nothing else to say. Because when nursing staff say present 3 minutes, it means 3 minutes. 5 minutes is 5 minutes, right? So this is good because it helps you. And are you good at standing up in front of people?
Yeah.
Okay, right. So good. You're not. You don't really get really nervous or anything like that. So that's good. So you have a good starting point. But videotape yourself. Use your phone, prop it against something, and tape yourself doing it, right? Reading the book. Try to be as natural as possible. But then if you watch it, you'll start seeing your quirks. I used to think that, oh, I'm the best teacher in the world until I had mandatory teacher training in New York State, because I started in New York City. And in New York City, in order to be a college professor, especially for a technical job like health science, you have to go through this teacher training. So I'm like, this is BS. Until I saw a video of my first year teaching. It was horrendous. It was awful. I didn't know what to do with my hands. I kept on talking about sidetracking my students, which I still do it to this day. But you could see how, and of course, this speech class, it's, in my opinion, it's a relatively easy A, but it has a skill set that you're going to need for the rest of your life. And public speaking is a super asset. And I know this is coming from a person who failed both oral communications in college and speech class in my senior year in high school. It wasn't until late in college I realized I really need this skill set. And it served me very well as a physician and in medical school, because when I present, and it has a distinct beginning, middle, and end. All right, so I could send this to you as well. You could take it and you could expand it, and make sure when you submit things, always have your name inside the document itself, right? I like putting it up here in the header. You double click on this top part and you could put your name, and then what is this, English 220?
Yeah, 211.
Oh, 211. And who's your professor?
Chris. What's her name? Tara Chris.
Tara Chris.
Yeah, TARACRIST.
And put today's date. Like, I like doing this because then on every page, right? If you close this out, if you have more than one page, on every page, it'll have your name. And also when I save it,
Wait a minute, how did you do that?
You double click like on the space above the words like this. You double click up here and it opens. See this? It'll say header, and then you can mess with this stuff up here.
And how do you get it to get on every paper that you write?
Oh, it'll automatically do it.
Oh, okay.
And then you close out. Boop. And
Oh.
then when I save it, right, I always put my name, the class, and the date so I can retrieve it. And then every time I have a different version, I put A, B, C, D, E, F, G, so I know which version I'm sending.
Okay.
Sometimes, your professor asks you to send more than one and all that. Okay?
Okay,
I
great.
think you're gonna do just fine. And now you got some these little helpful hints, and spread it around. Tell everybody, look, we were barely on this thing for 45 minutes, and it solves a whole bunch of problems.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And this stuff that I'm telling you isn't in any textbook.
Right.
It's just how professionals think, and people who professionally write for a living, like myself. This is how we always think. There always has to be some sort of introduction, always has to be some sort of body or main point of why I'm when I'm doing something, and then with evidence, of course, and then I conclude. I bring it all together, and then it makes it for a more compelling speech. Have you ever talked to somebody who like not making any point, like most of your professors, sometimes myself included? They're like, why is he going to just ramble on? What is the point of what he's trying to say? Right? And if you take good notes, you could actually see where I go astray in my lecture. And I do it every lecture. Right? But you'll see me catch myself every once in a while. Right? So let me send these two things to you, and I think you should be good.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome. Enjoy what's left of your weekend.
Right. Also, wait, one more question. The lab and the exam. So I was wondering, okay, the lab, I wanted to know if I can come a different time when nobody is there, like when,
So we'll
or
let's set it
maybe
up.
when it's, maybe
Yeah, we'll
when it's
set it up
like,
like it's tutoring, okay?
right, or somebody else could be there, but I just don't want to be in the presence of everybody.
Well, let me tell you right now, the current class has 12 people in it, and I now have like what, 11? I think I have 1 or 2 drops. They'll be done in 2 sessions and in 2 different rooms. So there will be no more than 4 students per room.
Oh, okay, okay, that's
So
probably
if you make your
good.
reservation, and like I stated in my lecture, if you do not make a reservation, I cannot allow you in class.
Okay, so how do I do that?
You just email me and say, hey, Dr. Garais, all right, I'm good for these dates. And he goes, because right now in your class, only 2 people reserved so far. So you'll be with the first group.
Okay, and what day is that?
If you look in in the announcements, you look here in laboratory and exam schedule. When you open this thing up, let me see what dates. And I have like my entire schedule. So of course, in a couple of weeks, it's week 5, it's midterms. And you can take your midterm online if you want.
Yeah, I'd rather do that, but for the lab, I would like to
For the
come in
lab,
because I know.
what classes? What day do we meet? Wednesday, right?
No, we meet
Tuesdays, right?
on Tuesday at 9.
All right, so it's Tuesday, September 8th at 10 a.m. and then Tuesday, September 15th. So 2 days.
Okay, so we'll have to come to both days, right?
Yeah.
Tuesday, September.
Or if what we did last term, there were some students like, hey, Dr. Garais, I can't come here a second time, for travel reasons and for preference or whatever. It's all right with me. I totally get it. They try to do everything in one day.
Okay.
But I highly advise to split it up because, it's your money. You spent a lot of money on lab. You should take your time and really soak it in. But like I said, like if you're not comfortable with being in a room with anybody, please inform me of it, and then we can have an alternative time, maybe same day, maybe later on that afternoon, or another day, even Saturday morning. I have already one Saturday morning because I have a student who has her in-laws are 68 and 71, and she doesn't want to get them infected. So,
Right, okay.
she'd
So,
prefer
so
to
she's coming, what, on that following Saturday?
that following Saturday, 10 a.m.
Okay, I think I'll do that
You want to
too.
do that? Okay,
Yeah,
so make it
I'll,
formal. When you answer me back when I send you these files, make it formal. Say, hey, Dr. Garais, I want to opt out of my labs and my exams. I would like my exams online, and I would like the Saturday session.
okay. Well, no, I'll still come to, because you said we have to come to 2 sessions, right? So I'll come to the one with the first group,
Okay.
and then I'll just come with her on
Yeah,
that Saturday.
on that Saturday, so it gets
Mhm.
everything done. Okay.
Right, exactly. So I'll have the 2 sessions done
All
within
right.
that
Again,
week.
make it formal, because I because remember, it's done by appointment. Like you confirm that you are coming on these dates. So shoot me an email saying, well, the stuff that we talked over, and then so I could say confirmed. We have an email receipt, so that so that everyone's on the same page.
So so let me just to make it clear, to get it straight, it will be September the 8th.
So let me look at the calendar. September 8th, you're going to come in, right? And then you
Uh-huh.
want to come in the following Saturday, which is September 12th.
Okay. All right.
So when your
Okay.
email say, Dr. Grice, I'm coming in September 8th, and for the Saturday, September 12th session.
Okay, great.
And
No problem.
both of these labs start at 10 a.m., so you're good.
Okay. All right.
All righty, have a good one. I'm going to shoot
Thank you.
you an email
You
right
too.
now. All right,
All
bye.
right. Bye-bye.